sustainability remains very crucial to the existence of humankind. And of course, it's not just only the present generation, but from one generation to another generation. And this is why the United Nations came up with 17 sets of SDGs to guide us, or to guide the global community, on the minimum standard of living for humans. And today we'll be talking about a very important segment in this SDG, talking about SDG 12, talking about sustainable cities and communities. And with me today, my guest is Peter Orubebe. He's a principal administrative officer, working with the Reforms Coordination and Strategic Management, and Blue Economy units in Nimasa. Peter, you're welcome.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Thank you very much. Now, talking about these SDGs, we've been having this series of SDGs trying to situate it to the maritime industry, right? Because every sector in the economy globally, has its own part to play, in the actualization of these SDGs, right? Now, in this edition, we're talking about sustainable cities and communities. Now, for the layman out there, what does it mean to have a sustainable city and community? Thank you.
Well, thank you for this question. It's very interesting that I'm here today to talk about SDG 11 because for me, it is very, very relevant to maybe some projects that I have ongoing, and so I'll thank you that I'm here. To your question, so this basically speaks about, that's SDG 11.
Yes, 11.
Speaks about, or speaks to what it means, for cities to be sustainable as it relates to environmental protection, affordable housing, basic access to basic amenities in the society, and so that is all that it speaks to. Because, if you didn't have a flourishing society or a flourishing community or flourishing cities, then exactly what it is do you have for humankind?
Exactly.
So I feel that it is very, very imperative and important that that the UNSDG 11 has spoken about this and how to implement the principles of SDG 11.
All right, thanks. So now coming to the maritime industry, right? Now, we need sustainable ports, right? Globally, ports are now being modernized, right, to fit into, environmental friendly ports, eco-friendly ports, all geared towards having a sustainable, environment, right? Now, how is Nimasa, as the apex, regulatory body of maritime in Nigeria, promoting this era of having sustainable ports, in Nigeria?
Yeah, that's a very interesting question. When it comes to ports, I don't think that would be Nimasa's purview. However, because we are the apex maritime regulator in Nigeria, we interface with these players, these stakeholders, shippers, ship owners, and then the MPA, that this activity would fall under their remit. So for me, I think that what we can do, and what Nimasa is already doing, is that we have waste reception facilities contracted out to concessionaires. We have this ongoing. But at the port front, I think this is chiefly in the domain of the NPA. And what we can do as Nimasa is interface with them to bring home the fact that, everywhere right now they're speaking about decarbonization. How do we decarbonize the shipping industry as it relates to ports?
Yeah.
In the West, there are some ports that have already gone green, with the usage of renewable energy and things like that. Although these things are very capital intensive, I do not know when Nigeria will catch up, but these are conversations that can start. These are things that we can begin to look at. And like I said earlier, as the regulator, apex regulator for maritime activities in Nigeria, these are conversations that we can begin, even with our sister agencies like the NPA.
All right, now, from what you said now, in order to actualize sustainable ports, and economy, and of course maybe the greener ports, like we have in other climes, right? Collaboration is one very thing that's very required, right? Now, how is Nimasa, or how can Nimasa, I know Nimasa is doing a lot of collaboration with sister agencies, across the ports, and of course across security agencies too, right? Now, how can Nimasa, how do I explain now, to use this same collaboration as a tool, to achieve, a more sustainable, environment within our communities and our ports?
Yeah. Okay, so thank you for that question. This is something that, I hold very dear to my heart. Interaction with communities as very, very important stakeholders in ocean conservation. Nimasa's vision speaks to cleaner oceans, healthier oceans. And how do we achieve this? If we are not collaborating with the custodians of the coasts, which is like maybe the entry to the ocean itself, and in the interaction with coastal communities, the ocean maybe collects all the debris that is brought into the ocean through that arena. So for us, we must understand that it is very important to collaborate with these people, with these communities that are situated around the coastal areas, just bordering the ocean. And you may ask, why is that? Recently, I don't know if you're aware that Lagos State has banned single-use plastics, and so we find that in supermarkets, when you go there these days, they don't give you bags.
Yes,
right?
You have to buy.
You see that people don't even understand why these things are happening.
Thank you.
Do you understand?
Good.
And most of these plastics, after humans use them, they always, more often than not, find their way to the ocean. And the ocean, plastics cannot be broken down in such a way that, if it was a living organism that died in the ocean, everything gets broken down and then the cycle of life continues. But with plastics, it is intact. It is in that marine environment, causing a lot of harm to biodiversity that's inherent there. So these are the things that we're talking about. If we have a very sensitized community, a coastal community, how would I say this now? If we have very sensitized coastal communities that are aware about even the harm that these debris can cause to ocean environments, then we feel that that is somewhere that we can start from. And Nimasa, in fairness, has been doing a lot in this regard. I know that there is, that's what I'm saying, I know.
Yeah.
There's something called Marine Litter Marshals.
Yes.
And that's been ongoing for a while. But for me, I feel like we can always go a step further this is something I was speaking to someone about just recently. How do you get the buy-in of coastal communities to own the fact that they need to do more for ocean conservation? That is where we must start from. And so for Marine Litter Marshals, I feel that Nimasa can tweak it in such a way that we collaborate, just like you said, we collaborate with coastal communities through even the local governments of these areas. Because, and we have seen through empirical data, when coastal communities own projects that come their way, when they are active participants, then they are better informed. And this is where ocean literacy comes into play, because they understand that without their own actions, the health of the ocean, which is like the primary regulator of the climate as we know it, is in harm's way. So if we get their buy-in and they are mobilized to continuously take care of their domain, which is the coastal areas, then you see that eventually the ocean is the better for it. And Nimasa's mission. Cleaner oceans will be achieved.
All right.
So yeah.
Okay, so very good. Now, you said something very important. I guess maybe those out there understand, right? Because we're talking about sustainable cities, and communities. That means we're talking about cleaner environments, both on the land and of course on the sea. Like you rightly said, most of the things we use on the land, debris, whatever, finds its way back into the ocean, right?
Yes.
Which is very detrimental to the health of the ocean, right? And of course to the health of humans, right? Now, you said something now which is very important to me, and I think those out there should understand why it's happening there, right? Because at the end of the day, the maritime sector is at the receiving end. So we must help people to understand why they should not do certain things. Now, you said something now, we go to the markets nowadays or to the supermarkets nowadays, and they don't give you bags, right, to buy. They would ask you, do you want to buy the bag or you want to carry them on your hands, right? And it's part of, efforts towards ensuring that the, environment is, clean and sustainable. Now, can you explain to the layman on the street why this is happening?
Well, this is a very interesting question. Okay, so now we understand that the ocean is, like I said, is the regulator of the climate. And why we are having very heated temperatures is basically because the ocean is fast losing its ability to act as the carbon sink that's always, it's always been. The science of it is that excess or carbon that's produced in the atmosphere always finds its way, either through food cycles or any other kind, always finds its way back into the ocean. And it is sequestered and stored in the ocean. Now, if the ocean continues to get warm by the fact that we are producing so much carbon and the ocean is getting warmer, it then loses that ability to continue to sequester and store all this carbon. And the devastating effects of climate change is the resultant, product of all that we see happening with the ocean. So Nimasa has a huge role to play in making people aware about the important role that the ocean plays in regulating the climate. I mean, we are the apex maritime regulator in Nigeria. We can't state that enough. It behoves on Nimasa, to carry out campaigns, sensitization campaigns, to make people understand. Even little children, you see that, sometimes you maybe want to think that maybe with this generation, maybe we've missed a lot of things, but with the oncoming or incoming generation, there are things that we can achieve and do better. So with them, I feel like we can start or establish ocean clubs, even like across primary and maybe secondary schools around. Then even attempt to see how we can collaborate with maybe state education boards and as well as the federal government to see how we can have like a curriculum. Over there in the West, it's called the Blue Curriculum, where ocean science as a subject is introduced, so that from the cradle, students and kids start to understand what it means to be better ocean stewards.
Exactly.
And so when the awareness comes, when the information is situated in their heads, then they do better with the output because they already know. So it's not as if we are going to carry out campaigns to people that don't know at that time. It is a carefully coordinated activity that is now vested in their subconscious, so it gets better. Then, like I said earlier, Nimasa already has a program called Marine Litter Marshals. But I think that a way that we can do better with that is collaborating with local government authorities of coastal areas. Because if the government of these local communities keys into it, they know the people or the communities, they know them, they know people that live around these communities. It is easier to reach out to them. For me, I would actually mobilize the community as active participants in such programs than rather maybe just someone who doesn't even know why he's been called to be a litter marshal, as you would put it. So for me, those will be like my propositions here.
All right, very good. Now, I know you started this global ocean literacy, initiative, right? And I know it kind of ties up with this SDG 11, sustainable cities and then communities, right? Now, can you tell us about this Ngoli? Now, how it ties up with Nimasa's mission, and how it also helps to, ensure that we still maintain sustainable cities and communities in Nigeria, particularly in the maritime space?
Thank you for that very interesting question. So as you know, I just returned from the World Maritime University and specialized in ocean sustainability, governance and management. I always like to say that's the arena of the blue economy.
Exactly.
Because we're talking about ocean governance and management. And during my time there, we kept getting all this information about, in fact, we did one whole course on stakeholder integration. And the way I just said it, sometimes people just think to themselves, this is something we talk about all the time, stakeholders, stakeholders, stakeholders. But, for once in my life, I sat through class and I understood why it is very, very important to actively engage stakeholders in such a way that they own whatever it is that you're telling them.
Exactly.
Because when that is done and when that is achieved, you see that whatever it is you want to roll out just works seamlessly.
Yeah.
So we said to ourselves, myself and some of our colleagues, all this information we are getting, especially as it relates to taking care of the ocean space, what do we do? Do we just get all this information and maybe just go back to our countries and not do anything about it? So we said we must mobilize ourselves to action. And we started speaking to ourselves, speaking to some of the professors and said, look, it is good that we go back and act in silos, but is it not better that we have like a sort of coordinated front for students that go back to different countries? As you know, the WMU is a school that people come from the farthest reaches of the world. When I was there, that's when I got to meet friends from places as far-flung as Tuvalu, that just has a population of 11,000 people. Yeah. Interesting, So how do we harness this network to ensure that when we return back to our countries, we can continue to preach the gospel of ocean literacy, making people aware of why they should take care, or why they should even care about the ocean. So it was well received. Everyone thought that, yeah, let's do something. So we started, and our little efforts metamorphosed into a full-fledged non-profit that was registered in Sweden and the Liberian Corporate Register, and was launched in the WMU on the 29th of October 2024. And we have now begun activities in 6 pilot countries: Nigeria, Kenya, Chile, Sri Lanka, and the Philippines. And what we are trying to do is this. I'll just explain. So at the WMU, there are like about 7 specializations that covers maybe the gamut of the maritime sector. There's maritime law and policy, there's OSGOM, like I said, ocean sustainability, maritime energy,
shipping management,
of course, you would know
port management, and all that,
as an alumni. And so we said to ourselves, across this spectrum of specializations, ocean literacy speaks to you in one way or the other. Whether policy or ocean management or port management or energy management, ocean literacy speaks to you. There is a way we can always do things better with policy making. There's a way we can always speak to ourselves better to achieve better results for the ocean and maritime spaces. So it was well received and it was well launched. And so coming down to Nigeria, like I mentioned, there are 6 pilot countries that are already carrying out activities. Coming down to Nigeria, of course, everything we in our charter just falls in the spectrum of Nimasa's mandates. So it's not like anything we are doing is outside of Nimasa's mandates. Cleaner and healthier oceans, ensuring that there's sustainability in the maritime sector. So coming back, we have said to ourselves that, how do we maybe better refine already ongoing programs that Nimasa has? Take, for instance, the marine litter and marshals. We feel that for better accountability, monitoring and tracking of that program, it is best suited that we incorporate, like I've always said during the course of this program, the communities. It is very, very important. Sit with them, make them understand, carry out these awareness campaigns first and foremost. Make them understand why it is imperative, because if they don't understand, then you're just going to put beans in their locale. Maybe not all of them will even be interested in picking anything they see. But if they understand that this is an outlet, all this debris, our community, this is where it gets into the ocean, we should do better. You will see that actions will be mobilized, local governments will be involved, and if you went back after 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks, there will be better monitoring, better results. So that is one thing that we think we can work with Nimasa to achieve. Another will be, like I said, situating or establishing ocean literacy clubs in schools, primary schools for kids. I have 3 kids. As I've come back, with the knowledge I've gotten, I've started to educate them. And then they understand better why we must do this thing. So whenever we go to a supermarket and they say, oh, you have to buy bags, or they see me taking my bag from the car, they understand why. So it sticks in their minds and they know that they should do better with this knowledge that they have. So that's the second. The third would be, so in Malmo, one of Malmo, Sweden, the place where we established or where we registered our non-profit. One of the men who sits on our board of directors, Mr. Michael Palmgren, is the director of the Marine Education Center in Malmo. It's a fantastic edifice. The city council built something where human beings can actually go to and learn about. It's sort of a very relaxed environment. You take it like maybe an excursion or a vacation, and then you can go there. And then there are lectures, maybe LED screens playing about what the ocean does for us, why it is very important, how it is responsible for 80% of the volume of trade, transportation, how it covers about 70% of the earth. You learn these things firsthand. You even see biodiversity, you interact with it. I feel that, for a place like Lagos, or even littoral communities or states, this is something that a project like that can be situated maybe in Lagos, where people can go to. Lagosians like to go out, weekends, take your kids, and then it provides a ready space where you can go and learn. So away from our office environments where everything is very serious, policy making, implementation of conventions and protocols, you have a very relaxed atmosphere. And I feel that this is something Nimasa can run away with. Build them across littoral states where people can go and learn. And do not forget that any knowledge that you acquire, it starts to stay with you. It is reinforced over time, and before you know it, there's actually action for the ocean, which I am very passionate about. So yeah, I feel that can be our contribution to sustainable cities and communities. Yes.
Wow, quite interesting. I can see that you're so passionate about this ocean literacy, and I know it's something that everybody should take very serious, in Nigeria particularly, because we're still talking about sustainability. It's very key, and of course, for those who are out there, if you still try to wonder what is sustainability, it's actually a transgenerational approach, of the usage of the activities in the sea, that can transfer from one generation, of course, to another generation. Now, on a final note, I'd like to ask you your thoughts on this. In 5 years from now, SDGs will be probably obsolete.
Yeah.
The thought is, would it be renewed? We started from MDGs. Prior to MDGs, we had some other environmental, laws and all that started, really. And coincidentally, I recall that discussions on environment started from Sweden many years back in Stockholm, right?
Yes.
Now coming down to the next 5 years, or looking forward to the next 5 years, what should happen? Should the UN SDGs be renewed? Should they be, reworked? Or what do you think should happen?
Oh, thank you for that line of thought. Yes, so for me, if you even maybe want to monitor the 17 SDGs and monitor implementation, I feel that we are barely just scratching the surface. However, it's always a good place to start with policies and drafting documents, because if a group of people have come together to even document how humanity can progress or benefit from a certain set of laws, it tells you that we are serious about something. However, to write and then to implement are two separate things, so we must appreciate that. But then, like I have said, these, even after 2030, these have to find a way to continue or be reworked, as you have said. So these discussions have to find a way to continue, because everything in there, in all the 17 SDGs, is for the benefit of humanity. And if we are not achieving all these benchmarks that are set, we must continue. We shouldn't say because we're not achieving, we should jettison. I would rather even to your line of thought that says we can rework. If we have made successes, we record. Places that we should improve upon, we improve upon. So I think for me that would be my final thought on that.
Wow, thank you very much, Peter Orubebe. I'll be speaking with Peter Orubebe, talking about sustainable cities and communities. And for our viewers or our listeners out there, it's still very important for us to understand this concept of sustainability. In Nimasa, part of our mission is to achieve cleaner oceans. And to achieve cleaner oceans, you and I have a role to play, within our communities to make it clean, and eco-friendly. It's a wrap on this segment. I remain your host. My name is Femi Kumuyi. Thank you and see you again.